the chocolate candy with the cookie crunch.
Delicious.
For years, European excellence was priced out of reach. Now Renault and American Motors close the gap. Introducing the alliance of quality and affordability, the new 1983 Renault Alliance. 5-passenger comfort, unique pedestal seats, front-wheel drive. Renault Alliance. European technology now built in North America to be affordable. From $64.50 at your Renault American Motors dealer now.
Life today can get hectic. Sometimes we all go through a lot of stress. Stress that can rob your body of B complex and C vitamins it can't store. That's why Stress Guard vitamins were developed. Stress Guard has high levels of B complex and C vitamins, plus the added benefit of a multiple vitamin. So if you work hard or play hard, take new Stress Guard vitamins. They help put back what today may take out. Available as Stress Guard and Stress Guard Plus.
Oscar at Toronto Tower,
I'm moving out of here. Gonna spend some time away. I'm really glad we're here. Me and the boys and our 50.
Smooth, easy drinking 50. What a beer to share.
Me and the boys and our beer.
Serving Hamilton, Toronto, and the Niagara Peninsula. This is CHCH-TV 11.
October 7th, 1982. At last, GO train service will be expanded to Hamilton, and the sod is turned for Hamilton's airport revitalization. Well, a very good soggy evening, everyone. I'm Dan McLean, and this is TV 11 Newsroom.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dick Meadows. On a bad, soggy evening, we have got lots of baseball. We've got plenty of track from Brisbane and some fine high school football in the rain. Dan?
1 year for planning and 3 years for construction. In 4 years, GO train service between Hamilton and Toronto will be a reality. The multi-billion-dollar extension of the province's passenger train network was announced by Queen's Park today. Dan Rath was there.
It's a giant 20-year plan to flesh out the transit system between Hamilton and Oshawa and tie it all together. With more than 100 municipal officials looking on, Transport Minister Jim Snow announced the plans here at Queen's Park. GO train lines inside Metro Toronto will be more than doubled. Outside the city, 2 major lines, a $162 million extension from Pickering to Oshawa and a $252 million line from Oakville to Hamilton. The red line on this map shows the Hamilton end of the strategy, a new GO train line using existing rail corridors that starts at a yet-to-be-determined point in Hamilton and splits in 2 in Oakville. One line will run to downtown Toronto, the other north of Highway 401, with direct connections to Toronto International Airport. The cars in the line will be electric, a version of the UTDC Cars and Track, but not the version turned down by Hamilton for local use. For the Hamilton region, the line means not only vastly improved connections with Toronto, but jobs, more than 40,000 man-years of labor. Hamilton Mayor Bill Powell is overjoyed.
Planning will provide a lot of work for draftsmen and so forth. And then the construction part will provide a lot of work for our workers in the Hamilton area, for our steel mills and our concrete manufacturers. I think it's going to be a great boost to the economy. I asked a specific question because if they were going to start at the other end of the line and come down this way, but I was assured that it would be done in various sections according to the cooperation they got from the municipality, and we're going to start tomorrow.
Oh, look, if the regional government doesn't and the city don't make decisions quickly on this, there will be a great deal of criticism. And I would hope we may be able to get some of the important leaders in the community to help us on this, because it's terribly important. We have to be decisive.
There are criticisms, though. UTDC critic Eric Cunningham believes other technologies could have meant a lower cost.
The most prudent thing would have been to call for public tenders and to ask whether Hawker Siddeley has some ideas, or Bombardier, 2 good Canadian companies, and maybe even foreign companies.
But Snow says consultants' reports showed UTDC operating costs are lower in the long run by 50%, a key determining factor for the province. When the system all comes together, it will mean some amazing changes for people who live in the Hamilton area. Imagine being able to hop on a GO train in Hamilton and get off at Toronto International Airport. In Toronto, Dan Rath, TV 11 Newsroom.
Still more good news for Hamilton and area. That multi-million-dollar expansion project at Hamilton Civic Airport is officially underway. Stan Keyes reports.
This is the most jet traffic Hamilton Airport has seen since Nordair went on strike at noon on July 26th. Transport Minister Jean-Luc Pépin and Hamilton East MP John Monroe arrived at Hamilton Civic Airport in Mount Hope in separate government jets. It was a sopping wet sod turning ceremony which marked the beginning of construction of the $48.7 million expansion project at Hamilton Airport. Dufferin Construction of Oakville has started work on the aircraft parking apron, which will be completed next year. The apron is being enlarged in preparation for the expansion of the terminal building, which is scheduled for completion in 1985. Construction of the new runway, marked in red, will begin next year and should be finished by 1986. Pépin said the two main handicaps are behind us now. The funds are committed, and there will be more frequency in the number of flights.
The last thing which is needed is a commitment on the part of the population, the like of which you've never seen. Because now that the government has moved to break the vicious circle, the rest of the job, or much of the rest of the job, has to be done by the municipal organization, by the different bodies that constitute the population of Hamilton and area.
It's estimated that by 1991, close to 500,000 people will be using the newly expanded facilities. That triples the number of people that used Hamilton Airport last year. Stan Keyes, TV 11 Newsroom.
Predictions today that while inflation is slowing and Canada's economy is bottoming out, it still won't be out of the woods next year, probably not until 1984. And 1983 unemployment may rise to 13%. That may be especially bad for highly industrialized places like Hamilton. The story from Newsroom's Maurice Stasic.
Those were some of the predictions today from the Conference Board of Canada at a big business gathering here at the Toronto Hilton Harbor Castle Hotel Convention Center. The independent forecasting organization holds this event each October to look ahead and see what may be in store for the economy in the year ahead.
The real bad part of the forecast is that some of the recovery is not going to take place in the heavy industry sectors. Those are some of the major industry problems are there with the unemployment, with the layoffs, with the excess plant capacity. So that means that you're not going to be creating jobs. It means possibly in 84 you start to create them. But during this period from now until then, you're bringing more people into the workforce. The population is growing in Canada, more people want jobs. So that's the thing that's pushing the unemployment rate up. Not that layoffs are increasing anymore, but just basically more and more people are being put into the workforce. So it doesn't look very good for any region, town, which has a high concentration of primary or really basic industries, the smokestack industries.
And the New York economist, Gary Wenglowski, predicted at this conference that a strong, not modest, recovery in the U.S. economy should start to surface in the spring of next year, with U.S. inflation rates continuing below 6% and interest rates continuing to fall. In Toronto, Maurice Stasic, TV 11 Newsroom.
Prime Minister Trudeau's cabinet and top advisors met at Meech Lake again today for another planning session before Parliament resumes October 27th. As Ken Lawrence reports, no stone is being left unturned in looking for money to spend.
With the deficit running at something in the range of $20 billion this year, the government does not intend, at least it says, to increase the debt anymore. However, the Cabinet Planning and Priorities Committee is looking for programs to cut so they can spend money for job creation ventures. It has not been easy. Today, with the Prime Minister sick in bed with the flu, the senior ministers spent the second day of mulling over the budget. One area being given serious consideration is immigration. The number of refugees to be allowed in next year might be cut to as low as 10,000. Many of the refugees from such places as Vietnam and Cambodia, or Kampuchea, are no longer sponsored by churches and others and find themselves on welfare. Employment Minister Lloyd Axworthy.
We're not talking about cutting. Our problem we've been facing now is a substantial increase in costs because of the economic circumstances, and we're just trying to balance out bringing in a new wave of refugees and immigrants would cause even further difficulties for them primarily, and we're most concerned about them.
There's one thing emerging out of the cabinet discussions. The universality of social programs such as the baby bonus will continue, and any thought of a means test has been abandoned. At Meech Lake, Quebec, Ken Lawrence, TV 11 Newsroom.
Canadian climber Patrick Morrow and 2 Sherpa guides reached the summit of Mount Everest today and were spotted descending from the world's highest mountain shortly before 6 a.m. That's the second Canadian conquest of Everest this week. A 17-year-old Fort Erie youth has been charged with the murder of his mother. Niagara Bureau Chief Jennifer Mossop talked to police and to some of the dead woman's neighbors today.
Well, I hear 3 shots. First, I didn't believe it was shot. I thought, twin, bang. You know, just like last time. And when I hear the second shot, I went to the window and was second or third shot was. I went to the window and I hear somebody cry, kind of commotion.
Just before 9 o'clock last night, the residents of a small rural neighborhood in Fort Erie were rocked by the sound of 3 gunshots. Niagara Regional Police arrived to find shotgun holes in the front window of 795 Grape Street, a 12-gauge shotgun on the road in front of the house, and 44-year-old Mrs. Evelyn Bright shot to death inside the house.
In addition to Mrs. Bright, one Delbert Peterkin of the Fort Erie area, 57 years of age, was injured, and he was taken to the Douglas Memorial General Hospital for treatment. Understanding is in satisfactory condition.
What was the cause of death and the injuries?
Well, at this time, we believe that she died as a result of a gunshot wound, and also that Mr. Peterkin was injured by the same shotgun blast.
Charged with second-degree murder is 17-year-old Bruce Bright in connection with his mother's death.
I don't believe it. And now he have a difficult life. I still don't believe it. He did it. I still don't believe it.
So you knew the family?
He's too good. He's too good. He was the best boy in the neighborhood.
Other neighbors told me they had heard the shots but did not want to talk about the Bright family. Police are continuing their investigation today. In Fort Erie, Jennifer Mossop, TV 11 Newsroom.
Barrie City Police say they have arrested a man in the death of Rosalind Hutchings of Orillia. At a news conference, police identified the man as 21-year-old Stephen Winter of Barrie. He is an employee of a trucking company and was arrested last night. Police would not say whether or not the accused man knew the dead girl. They did say that there is no connection between Winter and the disappearance of Lee Marie De Palma. The Angus woman was last seen September 21st. Well, our nice weather has obviously come to an end. A genuinely miserable day today. Let's see what tomorrow will bring. Here is Connie's preview.
Nice tomorrow, but Thanksgiving weather? No thanks. Details coming up on TV 11 Newsroom.
Not just $300 off, not just $500. Other manufacturers may offer you that, but $1,000 off. And who's doing it? Datsun's doing it. $1,000 off any new 82 Datsun makes them the lowest price 4x4s and 2-wheel drive half-tons in Canada. Gas or diesel, any body style. Regular, long bed, or king cab. So come in and make your best deal, then take $1,000 off. And who's doing it?
Datsun is the one. Datsun is the one.
Because the computer will be the key tool of tomorrow, students of today need more than just a video game if they're to grow in computer knowledge. And they will grow with the Commodore VIC-20, because while VIC-20 plays great games, it's a genuine computer. A computer that helps a student grow in computer knowledge at every level, right up to practical application in later life. The Commodore VIC-20, because young minds can't grow on video games alone.
When Sharp replaced 300,000 transistors and diodes with this tiny chip, it opened a whole new world of wonders. Like taking a big copier and everything it can do and making it into one of the smallest any paper copiers in the world. Introducing the Sharp SF750 copier. The Sharp SF750, a very small, very big idea. And where do big ideas like this come from? From sharp minds come sharp products.
Seiko LaSalle, marvels of thinness, so perfected, so refined. They reach the realm of art. Seiko LaSalle, thin, rich, beautiful. Only the highest quartz technology could create such extraordinary design, achieve such flawless performance. Seiko LaSalle, No wonder people trust Seiko more than any other watch.
Police now say there is no relation between the cyanide death of a Philadelphia student and the Tylenol killings of 7 people in Chicago. Their investigation is continuing. Meanwhile, the Tylenol contamination is hurting sales of the pain reliever.
Many drugstores have removed all forms of Tylenol from their shelves as a precautionary measure. But yesterday in Memphis, this ad appeared in the morning paper. A new maximum-strength Tylenol sinus medication in capsule and tablet form. Even though Tylenol has requested that all of its capsules should no longer be sold, ads like this lead to confusion. Many people are not sure what they should buy, and a nationwide survey shows a drop in the sale of all types of pain relievers.
16% decrease in the whole category of pain relievers. That includes not only Tylenol, but all other pain remedies.
But Odell says there has been an increase in private label or generic type pain relievers, which are usually manufactured by chain drugstores.
There's about a 30% increase in that area.
Why do you think this is happening?
Well, I think people are looking for alternatives that they can consider safe and that they have no concern about.
So people are still buying pain relievers, but their buying habits have changed. Not only do they seem to be more conscious about the type of pain relievers they buy, they're also looking for those in sealed containers.
Briefly in the news, the 86,000 housing starts across Canada last month are the lowest number in 22 years. This seems to confirm that the current construction slump is longer and deeper than most experts predicted. The Soviets aren't saying whether a foreign submarine reported trapped in waters near Sweden's main naval base is one of theirs. If it is, it would be the second Soviet sub in a year to become trapped in a similar situation. A Soviet nuclear submarine may have joined a Russian spy ship off Canada's west coast near Vancouver Island. Our Navy says the sub may be installing listening devices on the ocean floor to try to track U.S. Navy submarine movement. In Africa, heavy rain and fog are keeping rescue workers from reaching the isolated mine in western Liberia, where a mudslide has killed at least 34 people and left up to 150 missing. And doctors writing in a U.S. medical journal say expectant mothers should avoid taking aspirin in the late stages of pregnancy. If taken less than 6 days before birth, they say it can cause potentially dangerous bleeding in newborn babies. Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak called the late Anwar Sadat a giant of peace today during ceremonies marking the first anniversary of Sadat's assassination. Well, labor is fighting, industry has its lobbyists. Now is time for farmers to get politically active. That call to arms from Ralph Berry, president of the Ontario Federation of Agriculture. The story from Newsroom's Michael Kruzank.
It's not an easy business, farming. While most of us simply sell our skills for a living, in the agriculture business, it's skill and a huge financial investment. In most cases, with no guarantee there'll be a return at the end of the year. The time has come for change, says OFA President Ralph Berry. Farmers have got to develop better business and marketing practices. They've got to think about more than just being efficient within the bounds of their own fences. But most of all, says Berry, they've got to get politically involved.
You know, I can spend all my time in Ottawa or at Queen's Park, but politicians are astute enough to know that it's the guy out on the back road who's doing the voting. Unless he's tuned in and supportive of the kinds of things that we're asking for and demanding, then they're much less apt to concede to us. So what I'm saying is that we've got 26,000 members out there, but if they become more vocal and if they get more active in the organization, particularly at the local level, then we can be much more effective.
As for the kinds of demonstrations we've seen from farmers in the past, things like tractors and combines converging on places like Queen's Park and Parliament Hill, don't expect a lot more of that. Berry says that those kinds of demonstrations may do a lot to attract public attention to farmers' causes. However, real political strength is exercised at the ballot box. In Hamilton, Michael Kruzank, TV 11 Newsroom.
International Harvester of Chicago is trying desperately to stay out of bankruptcy court. In a statement mailed to shareholders this week, the company says despite extraordinary steps, prospects for survival are in substantial doubt. The truck and farm equipment manufacturer is staggering under an immense debt load of $4.2 billion. International Harvester has a Hamilton plant that makes farm equipment and employs over 1,400 workers. Ottawa has laid down the law on the use of satellite dishes. Ottawa Bureau Chief Ken Lawrence has the details.
In recent months, a new type of pirate has emerged in the world of broadcasting. For some $6,000 to $8,000, operators of taverns, bars, hotels, and condo apartments have purchased satellite Earth receiving stations and have been picking off air all kinds of TV signals. This is clearly illegal, and the Federal Communications Minister, Francis Fox, today declared war on these pirates. Federal officials will start immediately to seize such equipment and possibly levy fines. The Canadian Football League is particularly upset that home games, normally blacked out, are being seen in commercial establishments.
Those are the people that organizations such as the Canadian Football League are mostly concerned about. Obviously, we license Canadian businesses to operate cable systems in this country. They have to meet conditions of license, including Canadian content regulations. They employ Canadians, and all of a sudden they face a form of unfair competition from unlicensed operators.
What about people who shell out money to install a receiving station in their backyards?
It has been said at some point that the government of the nation had no business in the bedrooms of the nation, and I think in the same way the Department of Communications has no business in the backyards of the people of the nation.
There is talk that these Earth satellite receiving stations one day might cost as little as $100. When that technology is available, cable TV operators may as well close up shop. The matter has become that serious. On Parliament Hill, Ken Lawrence, TV 11 Newsroom.
A nice surprise. The Bank of Canada rate took a nosedive, dropping almost half a percentage point. Today's rate fell to 12.56 from about 13%. The plunge in the bank rate follows a sudden slip in U.S. interest rates and speculation that the U.S. Federal Reserve is losing its grip on the money supply. Effective tomorrow, the Bank of Montreal's closed mortgage will be set at 15.25%. That's down 1.5% from 16.75%. The new rate will be the lowest charged by any of the country's chartered banks.
This hockey player is going to skate on this steel floor with the help of a new, very slippery motor oil. Gulf Premium 10W30, specially formulated to reduce friction for better performance, better mileage. Now, steel against steel. You know a motor oil this slippery will reduce the friction of steel against steel in your engine. New Gulf Premium 10W30 at a regular price. Gulf, we perform, you get the value.
He's an American in a strange world, drawn into a private war of brother against brother. The challenge.
You can't fight guns with swords.
The challenge. He will learn honor, courage, and how to survive. The challenge.
Starts tomorrow at the Varsity and a Canadian Odeon theater near you. Check your listings.
We converted to natural gas for its economy.
In fact, I'm the Vice President of Mortgage Financing for a major house builder. All the homes we build are heated by gas. And without that, I'm sure we would have great difficulty in selling them.
We converted from oil to natural gas. It's clean, it's cheap, and it's always there.
At Union Gas, we're bringing home the future.
Peak Creams are very serious cookies. They're made for grown-up taste. Peak Creams are much too good to waste on children. Oh, they're serious. Very serious. Peak Creams are extraordinarily serious cookies. If you're a grown-up, or plan to be one, you'll know what I mean. Peak Creams are very serious cookies.
Ontario's Public Service Employees Union will take the province to court to fight the new wage restraint bill. As Toronto Bureau Chief Dan Rath reports, lawyers will argue this bill is unconstitutional.
This is the tactic the Public Servants Union has used so far to fight the wage restraint bill. Demonstrations and protests at the legislature. But now the union is going a different route. Surrounded by three high-powered and high-priced Toronto lawyers, OPSU President Sean O'Flynn vowed to tear down wage restraint through the legal process. After the bill becomes law, the union will challenge the constitutionality of the legislation with a three-pronged attack. Union lawyers will argue that the bill's changes to the terms of the contracts violate the guarantees of due process contained in the new Charter of Rights, that the union's guarantees of freedom of association have been swept away by eliminating collective bargaining, and that the new Inflation Restraint Board, which can operate in secret, will violate another aspect of due process guaranteed by the Charter.
We hold that our members, along with other people in society, should have the right to withdraw their labor, and they should have the right to bargain collectively about their terms of employment. That is what this is all about. The government has come in with a draconian piece of legislation which not only takes away those rights, but rolls back contracts that the government as the employer freely entered into. That, we think, is an abuse of power.
But Ontario Attorney General Roy McMurtry is prepared for the attack. He says government lawyers have checked the bill thoroughly for constitutionality and find it is bulletproof. O'Flynn says the campaign in the court fight will be carried on even though there is no sign the public servants are gaining public sympathy. He says that OPSU has never responded to public opinion, and that's simply not going to change. In Toronto, Dan Rath, TV 11 Newsroom.
Flora MacDonald was in Hamilton today discussing issues of women in the workforce. The Progressive Conservative members stressed that women are not in positions of key responsibility to deal with the issues facing them. She says that by the end of the decade, 1 million women's jobs will be phased out. She wants to persuade women to become educated in jobs such as computer programmers. Flora says they should speak up.
What women must realize is that the women's perspective, the women's concept, women's priorities must be heard and expressed in our centers of power if we're to achieve anything on our own behalf. Yet, the average income of all working women is less than half the average income of working men.
These names made news today. West Germany's new Conservative Chancellor Helmut Kohl is expected to visit Washington in the middle of next month for talks with U.S. President Reagan. And Queen Elizabeth is said to be in a rage over reports that Prince Andrew has taken an actress on a Caribbean vacation with him. The actress, Koo Stark, appeared topless in an erotic film 7 years ago. And Prince Philip is coming to Toronto. He will be in the city early next month to help in what is being called Canada's most important wildlife art auction. A former publisher of the Hamilton Spectator is dead at the age of 75. Thomas Edgar Nichols died as a result of a car accident in Thornbury yesterday. Mr. Nichols joined the Spectator in 1935 and retired in 1970. Toronto Mayor Art Eggleton has apologized about a joke he made this week. At a fundraising dinner, Eggleton said anyone thinking of challenging him in the next municipal election should stay home, relax, and take some extra-strength Tylenol. An American social activist, Phyllis Schlafly, says there's only one way to be sure you never get herpes. Avoid sexual relations, remain a virgin until you get married, marry a virgin, and remain faithful. Well, some big names in Canadian entertainment are headlining the Press Theatre in St. Catharines season opener. Connie Smith reports.
12 years ago, a Canadian actress from Waterloo and an actor from Hamilton originally became the stars in the Canadian television sitcom The Trouble with Tracy. It's still in reruns, by the way. Well, now they're working together again in St. Catharines in the Press Theatre's production of Neil Simon's comedy, I Ought to Be in Pictures.
So, what are you doing out here? You visiting? On vacation? Sit down.
That's Steve Weston. He plays Herb Tucker. His TV wife in The Trouble with Tracy is now his director. Di Nyland Proctor, married to St. Catharines DJ Frank Proctor, has been the artistic director for the Press Theatre for a year now. Looking back on her career, which began with the National Ballet Company, she says her TV series, in which she played a Lucy Ricardo type of housewife, actually closed doors for her.
I became very pigeonholed as a ditzy blonde. I have not had one television job offer since The Trouble with Tracy.
Now you're behind the scenes as artistic director. How do you like it?
I love it. I really enjoy directing. Something I never thought I would like to do. I've just always assumed that as a director it would be so frustrating, particularly being a performer, to sit out and watch everybody else work and not be able to go up there and say, no, it has to be done this way. Let me do it for you. It's not the case at all. It's the most gratifying job I can imagine.
Did you miss being on stage?
To a certain extent, and I will probably go back to doing more of it eventually. I must admit this hiatus has been one because I became a director and I wanted to really settle myself in solidly in that field, but also because I had 2 small children and it's very difficult to be running around the country and be a good mom at the same time.
I Ought to Be in Pictures opens tomorrow at the Brock University Playhouse. Tomorrow, I talk with Steve Weston. In St. Catharines, Connie Smith, TV 11 Newsroom.
Well, rain permitting, the first game of the National League Baseball Finals will be played tonight in St. Louis, and that leaves the sports agenda with Dick Beddoes presiding, and that will be, Newsroom continues right after this.
Jeep asks, why drive a car?
Now, Jeep CJ7s and Scramblers are priced from just $81.50.
Hey, Amy, I can get rid of my car. I can buy a Jeep for $81.50. Amy?
Why drive a car? Now you can drive a Jeep for only $81.50.
Why drive a car?
Taxi! Taxi! Jeep! Jeep!
Why drive a car when you can drive a Jeep? You can have it all. Yes, you can have it all at Miracle Food Mart.
This is the only way to shop. Miracle's Country Market. Only the freshest fruit and vegetables come here. And you choose what you want and how much you want. Yes, you can have it all. And at low Miracle Food Mart prices. Hey, looks delicious. You want one?
You can have it all. Yes, you can have it all at Miracle Food Mart.
Vitamins A and D, vitamin B1, B6, B12, vitamin C, vitamin E, folic acid, riboflavin, and niacinamide. Are you sure you're getting enough of these essential vitamins? If not, take One-A-Day multiple vitamins. One-A-Day is scientifically formulated to help ensure a balanced diet. Now available in 4 formulas. One-A-Day Essential, Plus Iron, Extra C, and Super One-A-Day Complete Formula.
Okay, here we are. Time to look right into the world of sports and find out what's happening in baseball. So let's do that. Here's Dick Beddoes.
Yes, indeed. Well, we got one guy in the National League who really knows both teams. That's Atlanta and it's St. Louis. He's got those connections. Talking about Joe Torre, he's now the manager, you know, the Atlanta Braves. He's a former Cardinal catcher and a good one, also played infield in St. Louis. He'll be prominent tonight, and he's got an adult philosophy on children's games.
And the manager of the Western Division champions, the Atlanta Braves, number 9, Joe Torre.
He wears the wrong uniform now, but he's still remembered in St. Louis. Joe Torre spent 6 years in a St. Louis Cardinals uniform. In 1971, he was the National League's batting champion and most valuable player.
I had some of my best years here, and I think I did my growing up here, and had my aspirations of managing.
It's been a rough road for Joe Torre, the manager, spending 4.5 years with the miserable New York Mets. That team finishing in last place 3 years in a row, and last year Torre being fired. Taking over the Atlanta Braves this year, Torre must have wondered whether fate was determined to deal him the wrong cards. The Braves hadn't won a playoff since 1969, hadn't had a winning season in 7 years.
I'm a firm believer that your mind rules your body, and if the talent is there, believing you can do something has a better chance at letting you do it than, you know, thinking about if you can or if you can't.
The Braves started winning, and by the 12th game of the season, Atlanta was 12-0. The celebration had already started. For Joe Torre, what a difference a year makes.
I think I'm a little smarter, just like a player. More experience, I think you get better at it.
The names of Torre's Atlanta players are not exactly household words. The team is about the same as it was when the Braves were in the doldrums. The players say Torre is the reason they became winners.
He's always been the kind of guy that would, if you needed something, he was there, you know, and you could talk to him. A friend as well as a manager.
Torre views his success philosophically.
It works, you're smart. Doesn't work, you're dumb.
This year, Joe Torre's been smart.
And in the other league, Bruce Keeson remarkably stingy as the California Angels fasten their halos ever tighter on the American League final.
California jumped on Milwaukee pitcher Pete Vukovich early. With the bases loaded up in the second, Tim Foley singled to left. Fred Lynn waltzed in from third. The Angels had a 1-0 lead. Later in the inning, Bob Boone executed the squeeze bunt to perfection. That scored Doug DeSense's. It became 2-0 California. Mr. October, Reggie Jackson, made his presence felt in the third. Jackson sent a Vukovich breaking ball out over the center field fence. It was Jackson's 18th American League playoff RBI, a new league record. The Angels took a 4-0 lead in the home half of the fourth. Boone lined a sacrifice fly to right, but the throw to the plate was too late to get to DeSense's, who had tagged up. Milwaukee's only offense came an inning later. With a runner on, Paul Molitor lined the ball to center field. But Lynn missed the play, and the ball went all the way to the fence. By the time California caught up to it, the throw to the plate was too late to get Molitor. The Brewers had delivered a 2-run inside the park home run. Pitcher Bruce Keeson scattered only 5 hits while striking out 7 Brewers. California's 4-2 victory puts them just 1 game away from a trip to the World Series.
Milt Ottey of Agincourt, he's by way of Jamaica, won the Commonwealth high jump this day about 7.5 feet. But the waltzing Matildas from Australia had a big day in the track and field events of 11 finals there. They won 5 gold medals. In lawn bowling, the Canadian fours are advancing. They beat both England and Swaziland. And the 4 are Glenn Patton of Brampton, Barry McFadden of Mississauga, and 2 London bowlers, Bill Watkin and Ron Jones. There was a dead heat in the Commonwealth Games as the Empire's fastest sprinter ran head-to-head with a fleet rival in Australia. We have the excitement from Brisbane.
Wells was the favourite, and it was thought that the main danger would come from his fellow Scots Cameron Sharp, not England's Mike McFarlane in lane 2.
Away they go, and Wells flew off the blocks, and this bend is so important. Now it's up right on the outside, is going well, so to his Cameron Sharp. The Cy Williams has been fast and Sharp is fairly dummy short. It's Wells in the lead off the bend, and Wells with McFarlane in lane 2. A magnificent run by McFarlane. McFarlane in England and Wells. Wells trying that slightly. Wells factored against McFarlane. But Wells may well have just defeated McFarlane with Cameron Sharp second. But that is third, rather. But that is a certain photograph.
It took 20.43 seconds to run the race, and then nearly half an hour for the judges to decide the result. So an anxious wait for the 2 men as the officials went to the black and white photograph before announcing that they couldn't separate Wells and McFarlane. Both gold medalists shared the victor's rostrum, both Land of Hope and Glory and Scotland the Brave were played, and both national flags were raised on the centre pole.
Meanwhile, this man, young swimmer Victor Davis of Waterloo, acted like a boorish little bum, as you perhaps have heard by now. This is after the Canadians were disqualified in a swimming race where a timing device caught them cheating. Davis broke up furniture and tried to uproot a potted palm of some kind. That's when the Canadians were caught. But Davis was a bum in a great, big, chumpish gold medal way. He threw his childish tantrum in the friendly games in front of this lady, Queen Elizabeth of England and the Commonwealth, and he did it with all of the TV cameras rolling. Boria Salming, this guy, scored the tying goal in nifty play with Bill DeLago and Rick Vive. This was in Toronto's most energetic effort that I've seen in Chicago in 15 years. This was crackling entertainment, a 3-3 tie, as Fred Anderton recaps.
The Hawks strike early. Al Secord scoring on a rebound, a power play goal, 1-0 Chicago. The Hawks power play clicks again midway through the first period. Doug Wilson's shot from the point deflects off Boria Salming's stick right to Steve Larmer, 2-0 Chicago. Bunny LaRocque foils Larmer on this play, but Denny Savard scoops up the loose puck. The Hawks lead 3-0 after 1. The Leafs get on the board early in the second period. Slavadura setting up Walt Podubny. If it works once, why not try it again? This time it's John Anderson feeding Podubny, who saves his best moves for after he scores. LaRocque keeps the Leafs close with some sharp goaltending. Chicago leads 3-2 after 2. The Leafs look for the equalizer in the third period, but Bannerman is brilliant. Finally, with less than 2 minutes to play, Rick Vive gets the puck back to the point. Boria Salming pulls the trigger. Toronto's third power play goal as the Leafs salvage a 3-3 tie.
And indeed, if the Leafs are for real, this man, goaler Michel Larocque, must play most nights like he played last night. Tonight he and the Leafs are in St. Louis. An update on Mr. Larocque, Kathy Renwald.
Craig Ramsey.
At the end of last season, Bunny LaRock felt as used up as an old pacer at Flamborough Downs. Well, this season he's moved from the doghouse to the penthouse. He bounced between solid and splendid in last night's 3-3 tie against Chicago.
Bunny, I'm going to refer to last year because I remember the last feature we did on you, and you weren't too sure of your future with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and now we talked to you at the beginning of this season, and it looks very much brighter. What's changed?
Well, maybe just my training camp, the way I played in training camp, maybe it changed my future in the team. But, you know, I just got to keep playing the same way, and when you play that well, it's really hard for a team to trade you.
LaRock knew the Leafs were softening their youth movement when they signed the equally aged Mike Palmateer.
They changed it a bit by getting Mike Palmateer, guy's 28, and that was a little bit of a surprise for me to go and get a goaltender, because they look like they really want to go with young players, and getting a guy of 28 years old, and they must change a little bit their attitude.
And he was something, believe me, last night. Gary Pori scored 3 times in college soccer, and Mohawk, that is, romped, and here is their score. There it is, Mohawk 10, George Brown a big zip. George Brown is from Toronto. And there was high school football this wet day in the Hamilton rain, and Phil LaChapelle shot the pictures for another very flavorful Anderton report.
The Sir Winston Churchill Bulldogs against the Glendale Bears. Senior high school football action at Iverwin Stadium this afternoon. Both teams were undefeated coming into this one. The weather was for the birds, but it didn't keep the faithful away. A few even brought their homework. Sir Winston Churchill was trailing 7-0 early in the 4th quarter when they drove deep into Glendale territory. Miodrag Pavlik picking up 14 yards before he's finally brought down on the Glendale 4-yard line. On 4th down and goal from the 1, Bogi Macheski bulls his way into the end zone. The convert by Pete Supar is good. Don't go away, we're tied at 7. With less than a minute to play, Churchill's Ron Bonitis boots the ball out of the end zone for a very big single. The Bulldogs lead 8-7. But the Bears aren't dead yet. With just 17 seconds left to play, Bill Johnstone will attempt a 41-yard field goal. He's got the distance. It's good. Glendale wins 10-8. They're now 3-0. Churchill's record drops to 2-1.
And that's what the wonderful world of sport is really all about. The striking NFL football players seem to be speaking with a forked tongue. Out of one side of their collective mouth, they're saying today they indeed would accept a mediator in their strike against the NFL owners. Out of the other side, they say, button up your chin straps, fellas, it's going to be a very long strike.
We seem to understand that one of the reasons we are, and the main reason we are out on strike, is because we believe in the wage scale. That's why we're out there. We're not out there because we like being out there. We want more money, and the wage scale is the only way to address that. But we're not going back, I can assure you, especially after talking to the refs. They said, button the chin straps, get your ankles taped. It's a long, tough game. And we feel the strike is just beginning.
I don't have any doubt that the matter is going to be resolved this year. At the same time, I think that those who are telling Donlin he cannot negotiate on wages are going to have to relent and realize that the bargaining process is about compromise, not who wins and who loses. Everyone should win, and everyone, I guess, has to lose a little bit in the process.
But in order for that to happen, in order for it to be NFL football...
I haven't heard a single fan, by the way, say anything about missing those guys on television. Well, rotten apple weather such as you see there in that picture's upon us in Willowdale, Westover, and Wimpville. We'll have more on the forecast from a phone booth with weather hotliner Constance Smith.
There was a time when a good new car cost you $3,500. Today that car could be $8,000 and more. Now more than ever, new car buyers expect and deserve to get a good car at a competitive price and be treated with courtesy and concern. The people at Taylor Chrysler believe that's the way it should be. It's their policy, plain and simple. If you believe that's the way it should be when you buy a new car, say yes to Taylor Chrysler, and you'll feel right at home.
People on the go. Sometimes it seems there isn't enough time to get things done. Breakfast is rushed and lunch a quick snack. When you lead an active life, your eating habits may suffer. So we offer Super Paramits for adults, our most complete multivitamin mineral supplement including iron, specially formulated for active people who don't always eat properly. Of course, for other people, there are different Paramits multivitamins, because we know the same multivitamin is not for everyone. Help maintain your good health. Choose the Paramits multivitamin that's formulated for you.
Ah, Miss Applegate, Mr. Baverstock is expecting you this way, please.
Thank you, Diddley.
It's Dudley, Mum.
I presume we'll be dining on Pamper?
Of course, Mum. Mr. Baverstock prefers Pamper.
Pamper premium quality cat food, real meat or real fish in a succulent sauce to please the most particular cat.
Ah, excellent as always, Diddley.
It's Dudley, sir.
Shouldn't your cat be as pampered as young Mr. Baverstock and Miss Applegate?
In times of indecision like these, it's always best to see what the professionals use. Professionals have been using mono-brand caulking for over 20 years. If it's good enough for professionals, Mono will do the job for you. So when the day comes, and it will, when you need to buy caulking, buy Mono, the professional choice.
Good news and bad news from the weather department today. First of all, the good news, it stopped raining. A high-pressure cell is moving into the area. Any shower thunderstorm activity should end tonight. There is a 20% chance of precipitation. Lows tonight to about 8 or 48. As I said, that high-pressure cell is moving in tomorrow then. Look for sunshine. However, all the moisture around may well produce some afternoon cloudy periods. A 10% chance of precipitation. Highs tomorrow to about 18 or 65. Now for the bad news, Thanksgiving weekend. We have another cold front moving into the area, so Saturday we should see increasing cloud, maybe some showers. For Sunday and Monday, both cloudy and cool, maybe some sun, but maybe some rain too. Now that I have all my bases covered, let's check some temperatures and conditions recorded earlier today, regionally and coast to coast.
.20 degrees at St. Catharines today, 17 degrees at Toronto, Guelph, and Kitchener, 20 at Stratford and London, 18 degrees at Brantford, Simcoe 19, Dunnville 18, Fort Erie 19, Niagara Falls 20. Sunny and 10 degrees at Halifax, then we run into some cloud. Montreal 9, Ottawa 10, Winnipeg 7 and drizzle, then sun, Regina 11, Calgary 12, the same at Vancouver, Whitehorse 5, Frobisher Bay -4, a few clouds. The cold spot, Eureka -22, the hot spot, Dallas, Texas 33.
And back in Hamilton, clearing skies tonight, sunshine tomorrow. For the Thanksgiving weekend, cloudy and cool, maybe some showers. But Dan, don't let that stop you from enjoying all the fall fairs and the great and beautiful outdoors. You know, weathermen can be wrong. You know, they're not supermen.
Or Supergirls, for that matter. Outside the TV 11 newsroom, pretty warm here in Hamilton as well. The present temperature is 18 Celsius. That is 65 soggy Fahrenheit degrees. We have much more coming up on Newsroom, and we will get to all of it right after this commercial timeout.
Since Honda invented the three-wheel all-terrain cycle, people have found it real handy for lots of chores because it handles the rough country. Of course, a lot of people have found the Honda ATC is great for going fishing, too.
Horace, did you forget to put gas in that tractor?
The Honda ATC, to get you where you never thought you'd go on wheels.
I hope there'd be more.
Come on, you could have more tools than this.
Canadian Tire does.
I think I'll shop around.
Hey, who can beat that price?
Canadian Tire does. Sure, you can buy some of the things Canadian Tire sells somewhere else. But does somewhere else have Canadian Tire's selection, low price, and Canadian Tire's guarantee of quality?
You mean nobody has it?
Canadian Tire does.
There's a lot more to Canadian Tire than tires.
Well, labor has pulled out of the Hamilton Task Force for Economic Recovery. Newsroom's Bob Ireland has the story.
At 5 o'clock this afternoon, Harry Greenwood, president of the Hamilton and District Labor Council, and Jack Tarbett, business agent of Local 18 of the Carpenters Union, called a news conference to announce they were resigning from the Task Force for Economic Recovery. Both men said they were disillusioned with the task force and that they felt they had been used by the task force for its own purpose. Greenwood said the task force was taking positions that the Labor Council could not support.
Whatever I say is the Labour Council speaking, and I know that Jack speaks for his organisation, whatever he says. We don't want everybody in the world running around making statements that we're responsible for, so we have to disassociate ourselves from this.
Tarbett said the Carpenters Union was particularly upset at the task force for, in his words, running a mayoralty candidate. He was referring to former task force member Brian Morrison.
When we talked to them, they said that nobody was going to run for election, nobody on the task force, and then all of a sudden Brian Morrison pops out of the woodwork, and there's statements related to Mr. Carter that says that this is a high caliber candidate. We hope more like him come to the front, and this is very much annoying to my local union members.
With the Labor Council and the Carpenters Union withdrawing its support, the task force now has a problem with its credibility. It only represents business interests in the city. In Hamilton, Bob Ireland, TV 11 Newsroom.
Well, today's lower interest rates produced a trading record on the New York Stock Exchange. Almost 150 million shares changed hands in an extremely hectic day.
The record trading on the New York Stock Exchange was fueled by a growing belief that the Federal Reserve Board will further relax its tight grip on the money supply. That was underscored this morning when a number of big banks cut their prime lending rate by a half point to 13%. When the trading ended, 147,070,000 shares had changed hands, 10 million shares more than the record set in August. 4 times as many stocks went up in value as went down. The Dow Jones average of 30 industrials closed up almost 22 points at 965.97. Investors who watched today's increase on top of yesterday's 37-point rise in the Dow were almost delirious.
I am the 3rd generation of speculators in the stock market, and this is something that my sainted ancestors are turning over in their grave at seeing.
I think many of us deserve this little gift.
In the last 2 days, investors became convinced again that the decline in interest rates, which started in August and September, can continue through the year end. I think there was a perception that Washington now very badly wants a recovery.
While most analysts believe that falling interest rates are the chief reason for the 2-day explosion in the stock market, they see something else. Many of those buying stocks are people who have waited for weeks to see if the market would decline after the summer's sharp increases. They are convinced now that that won't happen.
Briefly in regional news, about 1,000 United Auto Workers have shut down the Chrysler van plant in Windsor with a wildcat walkout that jumps the November 5th strike deadline. Ford of Canada office workers in Windsor and Brampton have ratified a new 2-year contract with their company. They are also members of the UAW. The Welland Tribune didn't publish today. 27 unionized editorial, advertising, and circulation employees refused to work. This after negotiations for a first contract went beyond a settlement deadline. And a new report says suicide has become the 2nd leading cause of death for Canadians between the ages of 14 and 35, and is particularly high among native Indian peoples. Well, there's always someone somewhere taking advantage of the system. In the U.S., one of the latest forms of abusing government projects is collecting relocation checks for moving. Meet George. He's called a project jumper.
This is George Rader. He's been living in this house for 1 year. Soon it will be torn down for the University Plaza project, a hotel-motel convention center in Springfield. When he's forced to move, George hopes to collect $4,000 from the federal government. Homes in George's area are being moved or demolished for the Urban Renewal Project. When a HUD renewal project forces a resident to move out, those moving are usually entitled to benefits. Move once, get one check. But a few, like George, say they've done it more than once and plan to do it again.
It's like being employed, though. It's a different form of employment. I work for the federal government. I'm trying to follow their guidelines. I don't generate a whole lot of extra money off what I do.
You wouldn't mind living in another urban renewal project?
Oh, I wouldn't mind it. I don't think urban renewal people would like it.
George says he's willing to continue living in substandard housing permanently. That is, as long as he can collect a relocation check from HUD. He admits candidly he's taking advantage of the system, and local HUD officials know it. HUD officials in these cities admit there are other people like George. They're called project jumpers, claiming uncounted millions in relocation checks. They systematically abuse this little-known loophole, but legally, HUD can't do anything to stop them. Harold Hooker, HUD's relocation spokesman in Washington, says, quote, "We've drafted legislation from time to time to prevent this type of abuse, but Congress has not acted. In the meantime, project jumpers like George Rader can continue to move from project to project, one step ahead of the wrecking ball, and collect from Uncle Sam for their trouble." In Springfield, Missouri, Karen Church for NBC News.
Farming for medicine. A new demand for the aloe vera plant is causing gardeners to increase their commercial production of the new natural medicine.
Outside of marijuana, aloe vera is probably the latest, fastest growing cash crop in the United States. And it's legal. Most of it is grown in Texas. The crop at this farm alone is estimated to be worth $3 to $4 million. And acreage going to aloe vera has increased nearly 20-fold in Texas since 1975. Aloe vera is related to both the lily and the onion, but the green gel inside the plant is being used in a rapidly expanding market of tonics, food additives, cosmetics, and cure-alls, even an aloe vera drink. And the Back to Nature movement is getting the credit.
I think that ultimately, with the advancement in technology that we have in this country today, that we will see scientific people being able to tell us why aloe does the many wonderful things that it does do, rather than being a folk medicine as it's commonly referred to today.
Though used in cosmetics for years, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has determined nothing scientific about what aloe can do for human illnesses. But the future of the plant for dermatology may be brighter.
Preliminary studies that have been done have been sort of tantalizing. They have shown that there seems to be some efficacy in speeding healing.
Some aloe vera growers are afraid that overblown claims that aloe vera can cure everything from ulcers to stretch marks will turn it into a snake oil. They say that would be the kiss of death. Instead, they feel there is a better future for their crop if it is slowly accepted as a new wide-range natural medicine.
More dismal news from Halifax. Mediation efforts to settle the 3-week-old strike by 242 firemen have broken off. Officials say there was just no progress in the main issue of wages. The union wants a first-class fireman to earn $25,700 a year. The city is offering $24,000. 3 Victani physical fitness clubs in Northern Ontario closed this week. An investigator for the Ontario Ministry of Consumer and Commercial Relations says the clubs are victims of an owner that couldn't meet rent and other expenses. Don Pogue says the fitness outlets in Sudbury, Sault Ste. Marie, and Thunder Bay closed after Northern Fitness Limited, owner of the franchise, couldn't meet its rental agreement in Sudbury. And finally, Statistics Canada says layoffs have slashed the number of persons employed by federal crown corporations by 6.9% over the past year. There are 148,242 persons employed by crown corporations at the end of June, 10,937 less than a year earlier. The agency says the decline was largely due to layoffs by Canadian National Railways, de Havilland Aircraft of Canada Limited, Via Rail Canada Incorporated, Eldorado Nuclear Limited, and Canadair Limited. And that's our early look at news, weather, and sports for this evening. Any last additions, Dick?
Yeah, can you, what a joke that economic task force has become. What a lot of laughs there. And how about that mayor in Toronto, that gag about Tylenol, the worst kind of a cheap shot at, you know, there were 7 burials yesterday. He wins the Victor Davis, I think, Chump Award for having said what he did about Tylenol.
Open mouth, insert foot, and close mouth.
Yes.
Dick and I must say goodnight. We'll do so. We'll be back at 11 o'clock. We'll look for you then. I'm Dan McClain.
I'm Dick Meadows.
Good night, everybody.
Kellogg's new Honey Nut Corn Flakes have the flavor you can see, hear, and taste.
Can you see it?
There are nuts on the flakes.
Can you hear it?
Sounds crunchy.
Can you taste it?
Honey, nuts, and corn.
It's Kellogg's Honey Nut Corn Flakes. Can you see it?
Nuts. They're on the flake.
Can you hear it?
Sounds crunchy.
Can you taste it?
Honey, nuts, and corn.
It's the honey and nuts that make it Kellogg's Honey Nut Corn Flakes.
Can you see it?
Kellogg's Honey Nut Corn Flakes.
At Gray Coach, we'll get you there with care.
We should have thought of a Gray Coach tour before. It's a great way to spend the day.
Thank you. I always make my flight when I take the Airport Express.
Greg will be in from university any minute now. The bus drops him off right at the driveway.
Here he comes now.
Gray Coach, getting you there with care.
There you go, sir. Try this.
Ah, good man. What is it?
Caesar. Canadian tea.
Ugh.
This isn't just any Canadian Caesar. This is Red Rose. A unique blend.
Red Rose?
Yes, sir. And they do say that's how it makes a perfect cup of tea.
What? Nonsense, man.
Well, sir?
Well, what?
Is Red Rose as good as they say?
Better.
Red Rose, the perfect cup of tea. From the depths of space, from the edge of the earth, Timex takes quartz to make a watch beyond time as we know it. The new Timex. The new Timex Quartz. A watch so accurate, you may have to reset it only once this year. Thin, sleek, beautiful. The new Timex Quartz, built and priced in the Timex tradition. Timex, we make technology beautiful.
Not all kids in Canada leave school early, but some do. Learning stops, and that's a problem. But there is a solution. Kids who have left school can still be encouraged to learn a skill. If you're out of school and you're willing to work towards a skill, we'll help you learn one. Our new skills program can give you the break you need. To find out more about skills training, write skills, Ottawa K1A OJ9.
Double skating, double talking, a double daring duo takes your breath away. But the single most favorite double in the world is double good, double mint gum.
Double your pleasure with Double Mint Gum. Double good, double fresh, double delicious.
Oh, the single most favorite double in the world is double good, double mint gum.
It's the single most favorite double.
Serving Hamilton, Toronto, and the Niagara Peninsula. This is CHCH-TV 11.